So this upcoming season, going to be riding on the GT sanction, 150mm travel. This bike that you see behind me is just pretty much just been built up out of the box, so it's quite standard. You know, it's got all our parts on, the sponsors' parts that we run, but tomorrow is going to be my first day on it, and I'm pretty excited to start making some changes and just kind of get it dialed in. So the rest of the year is looking like pretty specialist enduro schedule. Going to be doing all the Italian super enduro stuff, a lot of the mega avalanche stuff, and some of the races out here in America like Downeyville and stuff like that. So it's, you know, another challenge. I've done a lot of things in my career, and you know, enduro is like the next kind of stage for me, and I'm pumped to be riding on my GT for that stage. I think in terms of bike setup, you know, enduro is very orientated towards the geometry of the bike. Everyone uses quite short travel bikes, 150, 160mm, and so no matter how good the suspension is, it's never going to be as good as a downhill bike, and yet you're riding similar sorts of tracks. So I think the geometry has to be absolutely perfect, tailor-made for each rider. You know, you have to feel really comfortable on that bike because the geometry is the thing that's going to get you through, not how well the travel's working. So for me personally, I like a really slack head angle and a low bottom bracket, you know, maybe even as slack as 64 on some tracks. And I think, you know, that comes from the fact that enduro pretty much is a downhill race, but you have to ride to the top. You know, some of the track the guys were racing last year were really gnarly, you know, and you don't get as much practice as in downhill, so you really have to try and ride what's in front of you, and you have to be really on the edge of your game all the time. You know, you have to be ready for everything. I think as far as enduro goes as a sport, it's very young and it hasn't kind of identified itself yet. When people race downhill, you really know what the fastest products are on the market, and you really know how to set your bike up, you know. But with enduro, all the races are different. There's no two races that are the same, and it's still trying to find exactly how it should kind of like lay out over a weekend. So with that comes a massive range of bike setups, you know. Some races you'll be running single ply tyres, and then on another race you'll be running full on downhill tyres, and it really does depend on the track, and it really does depend on the rider's preferences. So as far as training goes for the upcoming season, I've pretty much kind of tailored my schedule to just try and lean out, not lose muscle mass, but just try and really get that good quality lean muscle. And you know, before we definitely train for when we hit the floor, you know, we train like rugby players really, and now I kind of have to shift my training to more long distance, more enduro. So yeah, of course I've got to be able to hit the floor and I've got to be able to crash, but at the same time I've got to be able to ride to the top with the fastest guys in the world. So it's a tough thing to train for. I mean, any sport's tough to train for, but it's trying to fit all those aspects into one schedule that's quite tough.